friends, welcome back to another video. I'm so happy to have you guys here because today it's going to be a very relaxed, calming day. I think we're going to be making some banana bread. That's mostly chocolate, so decadent chocolate banana bread. And then we're also going to be talking about Broken by Jenny Lawson. I think both of these topics, banana bread and Broken, are very interesting and slightly connected. I'm going to say slightly connected. Mostly, Broken made me want to make banana bread. And yeah, Broken made me want to make banana bread. So that's how they're connected, but I'll go a little bit more into detail about that later. Let's go ahead and make ourselves some banana bread first, so that way we can talk about Broken while we eat banana bread. I think that's a great plan. So let's go ahead and wander into the kitchen and make ourselves some decadent, delicious, maybe double chocolate if you like, banana bread. We're going to go ahead and first start this banana bread by adding all of our dry ingredients into a bowl. We generally do this every time we're doing a cake or muffin or any kind of real recipe actually when you're baking. So we're going to be adding our flour, cocoa, baking powder, and salt into a bowl, giving that a quick little mix until it's combined. Into another bowl, we're going to be adding all of our bananas. I'm adding 3 medium-sized bananas. These bananas actually have been in the fridge for a couple days because I wasn't yet ready to bake with them, but they were already quite ripe. And we're going to give this a real quick smush. You can either leave the chunks in there or smush it until there's no chunks left. We're adding 2 eggs as well. I would recommend making sure your eggs are at room temperature because when I added my coconut oil actually started to harden because my eggs were so cold. So either add the coconut oil on the side or wait till your eggs are room temperature. See here, you can see that my oil is actually hardened again. So we also added some vanilla extract and some brown sugar to add a nice richness to that chocolate. We're going to give this a real good mix until it's well combined. And then after it's been combined, we can add our dry ingredients directly on top. To mix this, we're going to grab ourselves a spatula and just start folding in the wet and dry ingredients together until it's well combined. We don't want to over mix it, so we're just mixing it until it's combined. Making sure you grab underneath the dough and pulling it up so you pop all of those kind of dry powdered bubbles you have created inside your batter. And if you're wanting to add any chocolate chips or toffee nibs or nuts, go ahead and add it right before you're about to add your dough to your pan. So do a couple more folds and then we can add this directly into our baking pan that we've prepared. To prepare my pan, I went ahead and had a mixture that was already combined of 1 part flour, 1 part coconut oil, and 1 part vegetable oil that's been melted down, mixed together, and put in a jar that I keep in the fridge. And I just use that mixture to oil all of my cake pans. We're going to dump our batter directly into that pan. And then I have an extra banana, so I'm going to go ahead and plop it right on top. If you do add an extra banana on top, be sure to bake your banana bread a little bit longer because right underneath those bananas there's going to be a lot of moisture, so it's going to be a little soggy, so we want to bake it a little bit longer. So we're going to pop this in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 176 degrees Celsius for about 45 to 50 minutes until a toothpick comes out clean and you have a beautiful chocolatey banana bread. Welcome back. I hope you are enjoying your banana bread, or you're smelling the banana bread as it bakes, or you're imagining that you're holding a delicious slice of banana bread, or just chocolate cake if you really want. And let's go ahead and jump right into Broken by Jenny Lawson. So I'm not sure if you've read this book. If you have, go ahead and write in the comments below what you guys thought about it, because I have a lot of thoughts, and most of them are good. Some of them are anxiety driven, I would guess. And some of them are, just regular thoughts about books. So first we're going to go ahead and jump into my general thoughts about the book. I think this is actually written very well for a nonfiction book about mental health. I think it tells a good story without it being too dry. It has a lot of really good humor in it, some of it very dark humor because we're talking about mental health. And I think it's just generally written very well. I felt I could read it very quickly. I didn't feel like I was being dragged along. Each chapter kind of takes place in a different idea, so you're not following a storyline per se, but you're following ideas of Jenny Lawson's way of dealing with mental health, and also her kind of, I don't want to use the word adventure, but it kind of sometimes feels like an adventure, but her life dealing with mental health. And I thought it was really well written. I enjoyed it as a book. I didn't feel, like I said, I didn't feel like I was slogging through a nonfiction with a lot of really in-depth thought where I'm just like, oh gosh, this is too sciencey for me, or man, I don't understand anything she's talking about. Instead, it was just a good book. My rating for this is actually 5, which I will explain. It's not just based on the quality of the book, but it's based on the information inside it and how it connected with me as well. I rate books based on how I'm going to think about them afterwards. So a 5-star book is normally something that's stuck with me and something that I'll think back to actually quite a bit. And I finished this about a month ago, and I think about it quite regularly, especially in the last couple weeks. And the reason I do that is because as somebody who also deals with anxiety, I find myself trying to find ways to cope with my anxiety and also to live with it, to do my day-to-day tasks and do general interactions with people. And one of the reasons I really like this is because she talks about her social anxiety and the way she interacts with people when she's having maybe a higher level of social anxiety. And one of the ways she deals with that, she talks about in one of the earlier chapters, is telling stories that may not be appropriate. And I do that so often. It is frustrating. I know I'm doing it as I'm telling the story, but in your brain you're like, this is a funny story. I'm going to tell this story because I think it's going to connect me with this person. And in reality, the story doesn't make sense. The story doesn't actually pertain to the topic of what you're talking about at that moment. I have a wonderful example because it didn't happen too long ago. Actually 2 years ago, but it's stuck in my brain because it's one of those moments where I think back constantly to, anxiety. And it's when I first started my job working for my office, and I hadn't actually started working yet. So my start date was a couple days later, but we were having like a wine tour. So we were going to go meet up with all the coworkers. So it's my first time meeting everybody in person too, because this is during, world shutdown time. And I go to the wine tour. I try talking to people. Everybody's speaking in German, and my brain gets a little bit slow in German when I'm first starting. So it takes a little bit of warming up. Generally, if I have a glass of wine or two, I'm a little bit faster, a little bit better. And I sitting down with all my coworkers, about 17 of them probably. And one of my coworkers mentions he has a hamster. I'm like, oh, I've had a hamster before when I was a kid. I've had a lot of hamsters actually. And then I thought, ooh, I have a really funny story about a hamster. Just to let you know, I don't know any of these people. I don't know anything about anyone other than this man now has a hamster. And I think I have a story that I can share that I think is funny. This story actually kind of pertains to the topic we're talking about. And I say, without even context, I say, I had a hamster as a kid, and then my mom replaced it because it died, and she accidentally got a boy hamster. So when we woke up, we thought our hamster had a tumor, and instead my hamster just had large gonads. And so this guy is just looking at me like, what is this woman talking about? And I'm thinking to myself, why am I talking about hamsters' nether regions in front of my coworkers? This is dumb. Melissa, stop talking. Anyway, I've got off track a little bit. The great thing about this book is that you're interacting with different perspectives of mental health. So I really liked it because I felt like there were times where I was like, thank goodness I'm not alone. Or, thank goodness I'm not the only one that does this. Or, thank goodness I'm not crazy. And there are also times, so there's a whole chapter about just tweets. There's a comment that Jenny Lawson says, and I've done this thing and it doesn't make sense, but I've done it. And now it's public, it's out there. And then people respond with also things they've done where they're like, oh gosh, why I have done that. Like the classic one where you're getting your food at the restaurant and the waiter says, enjoy your food, and you say, you too. And it's one of those moments of being like, wait, what? Why did I just say that? So people list all of their thoughts, all of the moments where they make those funny, awkward mistakes, and it's a great chapter. It's a chapter where you laugh and you feel connected to just the general public, and it felt good to read that chapter because I laughed, and it was just like, this is good. And then there are some harder chapters. There was a part where I actually had to just skip over because I knew that it wouldn't be healthy for me to read. Not because it's anything bad. It was just a moment where I thought, this connects to my past and may trigger something that I don't want to think about. So I told myself, I'm going to not read that. I'm going to go ahead and skip over that. And it was perfectly fine because the chapters aren't from the whole story going through, but instead just different parts of Jenny Lawson's life. And then she also talks about different medications and then also different ways of treatment and getting help. And I just really liked that. It's extremely important to seek help and to understand that you're not alone and to understand that mental health is extremely important. And I really liked this. I think if you have dealt with some sort of anxieties or depressions, feeling like you're not completely there and your mental health isn't completely healthy, then this might be an interesting book for you because it's just a book to be able to say, yeah, okay, I'm not alone. And that's all okay. It's good to talk to people about this. It's good to get help. It's good to understand where you're sitting with your mental health. If it's just, hey, I need to take a little bit of a break today, I need to sit on the sofa and just have a quiet day, or maybe it's, hey, I probably need to call out of work today and call in sick because I'm really not at the level of where I need to be, and that's okay. It's okay to take a moment and say, I'm going to take care of myself before I do more, because your mental health is way more important and you need that completely healthy and happy before we can start jumping into other things. And I deal with that a lot on my own plate. I like to fill my gaps with things of projects and things to do and da-da-da and da-da-da, and I don't take a moment and say, Melissa, take a moment, just sit on the sofa, breathe, it's okay, you got this. And it's important that we just take those moments, it really is. And so if you want an interesting nonfiction book to read this year about mental health, I highly recommend this. It's an easy read, it's funny in certain spots, it's tragic in others, it's relatable for some people, and I really enjoyed it. It's definitely a book that I'm going to keep thinking about. It's going to go on my bookshelf. I'm going to be reading chapters randomly throughout it. It's not a book where I have to reread the whole entire thing. I can just grab it and maybe I just want to laugh, so I reread the tweet section. Or maybe I just want to enjoy a story. I just read one of her stories about her awkward social anxiety interactions and just feel connected to somebody. So definitely a book I recommend, and I also highly recommend that you take a moment for yourself, love yourself, cherish yourself, and be kind to yourself. Really be kind to yourself because you're special, you're beautiful, and you're wonderful, and it's important to really just love yourself. So, you got your banana bread now. It's decadent, chocolatey, delicious banana bread. We've talked about broken and mental health. We've really We've really completed something today. And go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you have any comments, thoughts, ideas about future videos, go ahead and write it in the comments below. I would love to hear from you guys, even if it's just a hello. And I'm going to leave you guys there. So I hope you have a fantastic day, a wonderful weekend, and a joyous beginning of your August. Until next time, ciao!